Doçent Doktor Sayın Firdous Ahmad Malik Beyefendi çevrimiçi konuşmalarını yapacaklar. ABD University of the People Yönetim Bölümünde Ekonomi Öğretim Görelisi kendisi. Çevrimiçi olarak iyi dinlemeler diliyoruz.
Today we will be discussing about regional policies of USA, Russia, China and the European Union. We will try to understand it by the academic perspective, how these power blocks are working and what are their economic models. So, good morning, distinguished guests, colleagues and fellow scholars. It is definitely an honor to speak on this subject that shapes not national growth, but also the global order, regional policy. At its heart, regional policies ask a fundamental question: how can nations balance prosperity across diverse regions while remaining globally competitive? If we try to understand regional policy or the growth of government by country, it is actually a concept that is often read in technical reports. It is one of the most powerful instruments of government for any country at the state level. Regional policy determines whether a nation's development will be balanced or unequal. It should be inclusive or fragmented. But as academicians, student of political economy, I would like to pose a question. Can regional policies truly help us to equalize opportunities between urban hubs and peripheral regions? Second important question I want to raise here is, do they empower local communities or simply grant forces central control? Today, as we are exploring how four power countries like that of United Nations, Russia, China and European Union, we will try to understand what are their strategies as per their regional diplomacies and such. Therefore, let us start with the United Nations. How United Nations are making collaboration and how they are balancing at the international level. If we try to understand United Nations regional policy as an academic, what is going on currently by Trump and other diplomatic ties they have with different power blocks and they are dominating. But let us try to understand their domestic regional policy, how they are working at the country level. So regional policy for United Nations is that is further in collaboration and economic pragmatism. For the agencies like Economic Development Administration and the Alpha-Chain Regional Commission, United States, or you can say America, aims to bridge economic divide. They are trying to foster innovation hubs and enhance infrastructure equity. But again, that's the power block. The United Nations is also suffering with so many things. Let us raise one more important question here. Can a federal system truly ensure regional equity when market forces and political priorities are often divergent? Because they came with, one of the powerful countries in the world. So they are dominating us with diplomacy and policy. If we see the examples of India and Pakistan, or if you see the diplomacy of this Trump, how he is announced as a powerful country. But here I want to pose the question that can a federal system truly ensure regional equity when market forces and political priorities often diverge? Let us try to understand the case of what happened in the Middle East, that the example of Palestine and the wars on Iran, Iraq, and small war on of Israel and America had done. So it really impacts negatively to the third world countries, or we can say global south. So therefore, trying to understand the US model is trying to intergovernmental cooperation as the regional policy. So the European Union, and we have to constantly struggles in structural inequality. In the USA, there is largest structural inequality between posterior prosperity and inland stagnation. So inside America is struggling, but at world it is being using its power negatively to impact mostly third world countries that are within the region of global south. So let us move to the regional policy of Russia. Because today's topic which we are focusing on, we are trying to understand how these power blocks are behaving at national and international level. So if we try to understand what Russia is doing as per this regional policy is concerned. So Russia at the regional is very different from that of USA. One of the centralized power and geopolitical assertion. And Russia model is, mainly debated after the war is going since last 3 years between Russia and Ukraine. So therefore, the Moscow maintains tight control over its region. They are emphasizing national unity and strategical dominance. However, such centralization often overshadows socio-economic development, and local governments compete for political favor rather than fostering innovation. Similarly, with regard to regional policy of Russia, as an academician, I want to pose one more question for our scholars to think about it. Can regional progress flourish under a model driven more by power than by participation? Does militarization strengthen or weakness a nation's internal cohesion? So Russia is being understood that they are vested with the power of militarization. So I want to give here an example of Pakistan. Pakistan is also struggling with this phenomenon. So therefore, trying to understand how Russia is maintaining its political centralization and how it is controlling its prosperity. Now trying to understand about China. What is the economic model of the China? So as China is one of the biggest countries as far as revenue is concerned, as far as sovereign loans to regional countries is concerned, so China's regional policy exemplifies long-term strategic planning. China is one of the unique countries which plans for longer future. Its major framework, the Beijing Taoism Haven Integration, the Yazoo River Economic Belt, and the Greater Bay Area. This demonstrates a model of coordinated state-led regional growth. So till now we have discussed three major power blocks of the world like USA, then Russia, and China. So we find China is one of the unique countries as per the regional policy is concerned. But again here, with respect to China, we can discuss some questions which are very important for academic discussion. can climate coordination truly balance with sustainability? As China is growing at a larger pace with respect of, irrespective of other countries, if we see other countries how they are doing, how they are struggling with inequalities, unemployment problem, and war, war.
لخدمة سياستها أو هذا الموضوع يمكن ناقشته على الصعيد الدبلوماسي بالتخطيط وتحقيق تنسيق قابلا لتحقيق توازن مستديم.
The second important counter question I want to ask for the audience is, how does China reconcile rapid urbanization with ecological preservation and rural revitalization? Therefore, to understand China one side is, functioning like a Zionic system, dividing areas into optimized, restricted and protected zones, but shows a remarkable capacity for adaptive government. They are not having governance challenges as we observe in other countries like Russia, USA. There are governance challenges. There are laws which must stagnation from building bad activities. In Russia it is also, in Pakistan, in other countries from the world. But China is the only country where there are not governance issues. Yet also raises the question of local autonomy and environmental relations. So with respect to China, there is only that tricky question that whether they can balance their growth and development with respect to the sustainable development goals. So moving ahead, let us try to understand how European Union is behaving. Actually, the debate today is we will try to understand what global south countries are doing and what power blocks are doing. So therefore, trying to understand the European Union cohesion and solidarity, the European Union, of course, a supranational experiment as per the regional policy is concerned. One guided by solidarity and economic cohesion, over 1/3 of European Union, if we try to take the time duration of 2021 to 2027, but budget is devoted to reducing disparities. The European Union is more, trying to restrict the disparities and making more investment budget for this among regions, so that the cohesion fund and European regional development can be maintained. But again, we must, look at critically. So the critical questions we can pose here is, how does European Union maintain unity and economic development? This is a question of the answer. The second counter question is, can cross-border cooperation truly overcome national self-interest? So despite these challenges, the European economic model stands as a testament of multi-level governance, while economic and social cohesion are treated not as a charity but as shared responsibility. So if we try to understand all these power blocks in comparatively, what are their policies, how they are behaving. For example, if we try to understand the policy focus of USA, they are mainly focusing on economic equity and regional collaboration, while Russia is more focusing on militarization. China coordinated national security soon, but the European Union has a unique example trying to have more cohesion to reduce disparities. Now try to understand the governance model. So USA is having the governance model federal in nature, they like to belong in collaboration, where Russia, they are hyper-centralized with limited autonomy, and that of the China is topped down with the regional flexibility. But Europe is having a great example of multi-level governance they are having. So we can say, if we sum up critically, that European is having one best governance model. But what are the key challenges of all these countries? Like USA, they are having infrastructure problem and regional inequality. Because of that issue, Trump is going and announcing, bullshit stories and all to other countries so that he can, make this ban advantage from other developing countries by increasing tariffs, making the trade very difficult for them, and trying their primary, goods. This is because of this frustration of inequality and infrastructure. But on the other side, Russia, it is more dominated towards militarization and regional underdevelopment. A lot of losses is going on, manpower, lacking because of the Ukraine and Russia war, and because of now is suffering also at diplomatic level. USA is very against it, and European countries are also against Russia. Therefore, this is the key challenge, to be based on the militarization model. It makes this diplomacy very hard. China unique, balancing both growth and sustainability. It is a key challenge for China how to do it. Because if you go for more investment or more construction of roads, buildings, whatever, that is again, threat to sustainability. How they will maintain it is very big challenge for China. Divergent economic development is the challenge for European. So, funding support that federal programs are targeting for investment in USA, government controls with strategic focus in Russia, and national plans with provisional implementation. China is giving backward plans to the regions at provisional level. And European budget, they are just making structural adjustments for it. So therefore, by this comparison, if we try to understand that the differences of these power blocks, how they are behaving at their domestic level as per the regional policy is concerned, it reveals a profound truth. Regional policy is mirror of any political, governance. So we can say like this, regional policy is a mirror of political philosophy. USA and European Union, they are more focusing on valuing the decentralization and collaboration. But China masters colony with flexibility. And if we try to understand the Russia, they are more making priorities towards power consolidation over local empowerment. So these are the discussions of these power blocks. So now let us try to understand what are the learnings for this as this conference is concerned. So we are more interested towards that how global South can behave and what is the suitable model for global South countries, South Asia. How can Muslim countries become choose a model so that it should be beneficial to all humankind, particularly the Muslim nation. So therefore, understanding these strategies of these powerful blocks, as a scholar or policymaker, we can must ask important questions to ourselves. To leaders of global South, that of Turkey, Pakistan, Malaysia, UAE, or Saudi Arabia. So what lessons can developing nations draw from these important models for these power centers like USA, Russia, China, and European Union? What are the learnings? They should learn from this. What are the strategies to cover or to provide protection of this land as what the current geopolitical war is going on. The second important question for global South leaders is that is there an ideal balance between central coordination and regional autonomy? As previous speaker Dr. Giba was highlighting that global South, especially the Muslim countries, should come together and define a particular model so that it should be beneficial and it should provide harmony in the world. So with respect to Palestine, if I try to focus on what has happened during the Palestine, so much manpower loss, economy has been, devastated, because of these criminal power laws. But where were the Muslim leaders? What was their policy or economic model? I think as per the academic discussion is concerned, if we try to analyze it critically, we found Muslim countries as an alternative model to have such a diplomacy. They failed to some large extent. So therefore, talking about sustainability, talking about inclusivity and competition, they truly existed within the policy framework. The answer may lie in adaptive regionalism, and these Muslim countries, they should come with a model that blends global insight with local reality. They should use their manpower. More than 50 countries, Muslim countries, Turkey can lead them. Pakistan can be a super leader in that. But the question is how they can make strategies so that to make a powerful economic model, which will not only benefit to Muslim nations, but also the whole world. So therefore, to conclude, the regional policy is not just about economics. It is about identity, it is about justice, it is about culture, it is about how balance power within the nations and across the world. So, global South countries, they should choose the best model, they should come together, they should have diplomacy, they should make a power block like G20 and all, but they are not in a framework. So therefore, as a student of economics and as a student of political diplomacy, we must make such debates so that our political leadership will come with a uniform law or economic model, so that they understand these frameworks who are ruling us, like USA, Russia, and all in trade, they are ruling us, they are making their favoritism trade for themselves. So we should learn what type of strategy, what type of governments they are having, and why not we establish such a government which is beneficial for the mainland and the countries altogether. So understanding these frameworks will help us interpret global trends. It will also help us to shape more equitable and sustainable future. Thank you very much for our awesome Congress 2025 for giving me such an opportunity to share my insights with at a platform where Muslim scholars especially are sharing their insights. I am highly grateful for this opportunity. Looking forward for such more opportunities. Thank you very much.